In 1613, an Italian cartographer named Urbano Monte completed something extraordinary: a map. But not just any map. This map shows a world that, according to everything you learned in school, shouldn't have existed. Green forests where there should be ice. Rivers flowing where scientists say only glaciers have stood for millions of years. And creatures, dragons, centaurs, giants, drawn with the same precision as lions and elephants. For 400 years, this document was hidden, locked away from public view. And when it finally surfaced in 2019, it revealed three impossible truths that completely shatter the official story of our planet's past. This is what they don't teach you. The Urbano Monte map isn't some crude medieval illustration filled with "here be dragons" nonsense. This was a serious cartographic project that took 69 years to complete, started in 1544, finished in 1613. Monte wasn't a fantasist. He was a respected mapmaker working during the age of exploration, when accurate maps meant the difference between successful voyages and shipwrecks. These documents were worth fortunes. They were tools of navigation, trade, and geopolitical power. So, why would a serious cartographer spend nearly 7 decades creating a map of a world that officially never existed? Why would he draw Antarctica as a tropical paradise when we're told it's been frozen for millions of years? And more importantly, why was this map kept from the public for 4 centuries? The answer is simple and terrifying: because it's evidence. Evidence of a world that was erased. Evidence of a catastrophe so sudden and so complete that entire civilizations vanished almost overnight. Evidence that the history we're taught is incomplete at best and deliberately misleading at worst. Let me show you exactly what I mean. The first impossible truth revealed by the Monte map is the state of Antarctica itself. Turn to any modern atlas, any geography textbook, and you'll find the same image: a lifeless white continent, buried under kilometers of ice, the coldest, driest, most hostile environment on Earth. We're taught that Antarctica has been this way for tens of millions of years, long before humans walked the planet. It's presented as a geological constant, an eternal ice desert at the bottom of the world. But Urbano Monte's 1613 map tells a completely different story. Antarctica is drawn as a lush, vibrant, living continent, absolutely free of ice. Green plains stretch across the landmass, dense forests cover the interior, and most striking of all, massive river systems crisscross the entire territory, feeding valleys and flowing into warm ocean waters. This isn't a vague sketch. The detail is extraordinary. Individual riverbeds are carefully drawn. Mountain ranges are depicted, completely free of snow and ice. Coastlines are precisely mapped, showing harbors and inlets that today lie buried under glaciers. In the cartographic tradition of that era, different colors indicated different climate zones. And here's where it gets even stranger. Large portions of Antarctica are colored in rich red hues. In 17th century mapmaking, red designated hot, arid, or tropical climates. Monte is showing us an Antarctica with a climate comparable to equatorial Africa or the tropical regions of South America, a land of heat, abundance, and thriving ecosystems. Now, skeptics will immediately say this is just fantasy, the imagination of a mapmaker who never actually saw Antarctica. But that explanation falls apart under scrutiny. Maps in the 1600s weren't created for decoration. They required massive resources, years of work, and access to navigation logs from dozens of expeditions. Putting fictional continents on expensive parchment made no economic sense. These were practical documents used for actual voyages. And here's the critical question. If Monte was just making this up, why did authorities keep this map hidden for 400 years? Why did it only become available for detailed public study in 20? You don't suppress fantasy. You suppress evidence. The second impossible truth is even more disturbing. It's not just Antarctica. The entire planet looked different. Look at Africa on the Monte map. The Sahara Desert, which today is one of the largest deserts on Earth, an endless ocean of sand stretching for millions of square kilometers, is barely visible. Instead, Monte shows North Africa as a fertile, water-rich region dotted with lakes and flowing rivers. The desert exists only as a small emerging patch, not the dominant feature we see today. This matches perfectly with the depiction of Antarctica. Both suggest that Earth's climate 400 years ago was fundamentally different, warmer, wetter, more hospitable to large-scale life. We're not talking about minor regional variations. We're talking about a completely different atmospheric and hydrological system. A planet where the poles weren't frozen wastelands and the deserts weren't barren death traps. Modern science tells us these changes take millions of years. Slow, gradual shifts in Earth's axis, continental drift, ice ages that come and go over geological epochs. But the Monte map, if accurate, proves something far more terrifying. That catastrophic planetary change can happen in mere centuries, perhaps even faster. Think about the implications. If Antarctica went from tropical paradise to frozen graveyard in just a few hundred years, what does that say about the stability of our current climate? What does it say about how quickly everything we know could be wiped away? But the most shocking evidence isn't the landscape, it's what lived there. The third impossible truth is what populated this lost world. And this is where the map stops being just a geographical oddity and becomes a document of erased biology. Monte didn't just draw empty continents. He meticulously documented the fauna inhabiting these lands. And what he recorded should not exist according to every textbook of natural history. On the plains of Antarctica, we see herds of elephants, lions prowling through vegetation, creatures resembling monkeys in the trees, animals we associate exclusively with Africa and Asia, thriving at the South Pole. Already, this is impossible by modern understanding. But Monte drew these with perfect anatomical accuracy. These weren't crude representations. He knew exactly what these animals looked like. But then, right alongside these familiar creatures, are others. Animals that we've been taught are pure mythology. Unicorns, not mystical, glowing fairy tale creatures, but ordinary hoofed animals grazing in meadows, drinking from rivers, behaving like deer or horses, drawn with the exact same level of detail and realism as the elephants beside them. Winged reptiles that can only be described as dragons, large, scaled, occupying their place in the ecosystem as naturally as any predator, not breathing fire or hoarding gold, just existing, hunting, surviving. Creatures that resemble griffins, manticores, chimeras from ancient legends, all depicted not as decorative symbols, but as living, breathing parts of the natural world. Here's the critical detail that separates this from fantasy. There's no stylistic difference between the real animals and the mythical ones. A skeptic might expect the unicorns to have halos, the dragons to be surrounded by flames, some visual indication that these are allegory or decoration. But there's nothing. The unicorn is drawn exactly like the horse next to it. The dragon is drawn exactly like the lion next to it. Same technique, same precision, same mundane placement in the landscape. Why would a serious cartographer, creating a navigation document of state importance, randomly mix verified animals with complete fiction and draw them identically? The answer that makes the most sense, the answer that official history refuses to accept, is that in 1613, these creatures weren't myths. They were documentation. Urbano Monte was recording what explorers, sailors, and travelers reported seeing. Species that existed in these isolated ecosystems before they were destroyed. What we call dragons today were likely large reptilian species that evolved in the unique climate of pre-catastrophe Antarctica. What we call unicorns were probably a horned ungulate species that went extinct when the continent froze. Our fairy tales aren't fantasies, they're memories. Distorted echoes of real biology that once walked this earth. But Monte didn't just document animals. He documented intelligent life. And that's where this map becomes truly disturbing. Across the green valleys of Antarctica, Monte drew beings that possess clear signs of intelligence, tool use, and social organization. Centaurs, not as static symbols, but as active participants in the ecosystem. They're shown hunting with bows and spears, organized, strategic. These aren't mindless beasts, they're thinking, planning, creating. In the mountains, we see cyclops, giants with a single eye, holding massive clubs. The scale comparison with normal humans in the same scenes is shocking. These beings were enormous, potentially 4 or 5 meters tall. There are scenes of combat, a winged creature resembling a gargoyle locked in battle with a large feline predator, not a symbolic image. A documentary sketch of real predator versus predator conflict. Monte even captured what appears to be daily life, a centaur mid-hunt, a giant confronting a beast. These aren't posed portraits, they are moments frozen in time. And if we look at the coastal waters, the strangeness continues. Mermaids and mermen, but not the fairy tale version with fishtails. These beings have two lower limbs ending in fins, a far more biologically plausible anatomy for an amphibious intelligent species. And here's the most stunning detail. Monte shows humans interacting peacefully with these aquatic beings, riding them like transport, being guided by them through ocean routes. This isn't mythology. This is documentation of interspecies cooperation, of a world where humanity shared the planet with other intelligent forms of life. Where did they all go? That's the question that haunts this map. Every creature, every species, every civilization documented here is gone, not gradually phased out over millions of years. Gone, raced in what must have been an unimaginably violent planetary event. The evidence points to something scientists call a pole shift or flash freeze scenario, a sudden, catastrophic change in Earth's rotational axis or magnetic field that would cause instant climate chaos. Imagine what that would mean for Antarctica. In a matter of days, perhaps even hours, temperatures plummet from tropical warmth to deadly cold. The rivers freeze solid mid-flow. The forests are buried under rapidly accumulating ice and snow. Every living thing, every creature that couldn't escape, is flash frozen in place, preserved under kilometers of ice, still there, right now, beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. The centaurs, the giants, the dragons, the civilizations that built tools and hunted and lived, all of it locked in a massive frozen tomb. And the terrifying truth is, we have the technology to prove this. Ground-penetrating radar, ice core sampling, satellite imaging that can detect anomalies beneath the ice. There have been reports of unusual structures detected under the Antarctic ice, geometric patterns that don't match natural geological formations. But these findings are either classified or dismissed. Why? Because confirming what the Monte map shows would require rewriting every textbook. It would mean admitting that mainstream science got fundamental facts about Earth's history completely wrong. It would mean acknowledging that advanced ecosystems and possibly intelligent civilizations existed in places we're told were uninhabitable. That catastrophic planetary change can happen in human timescales, not geological ones. And most uncomfortably, it would raise the question that no one in power wants asked. Could it happen again? Is our current climate stability just a temporary phase between cataclysms? That's subitu. Urbano Monte map isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a warning. It shows us a world full of life, diversity, and complexity that was wiped out almost instantaneously. A world that thrived and then vanished, leaving only fragments of memory that we've reinterpreted as myths and legends. The real question isn't whether the map is accurate. The evidence suggests it is. Geological studies have found proof that Antarctica was once ice-free. Ancient pollen samples recovered from beneath the ice show tropical plant species. The science, when you dig deep enough, supports Monte's depiction. The real question is why this knowledge has been suppressed, why this map was hidden for 400 years, why students aren't taught that human history might be far stranger and more fragile than we've been led to believe. Because once you accept that the Monte map is evidence, not fantasy, everything changes. You start questioning what else has been erased from history, what other catastrophes have reset, civilization. How many times has advanced life on this planet been wiped clean and forced to start over? You realize that the stability we experience, the climate we rely on, the very ground beneath our feet, is far more temporary than anyone wants to admit. The Monte map is a testament to a lost world, a world of giants and dragons, of intelligent species living in balance, of continents green and thriving where now only ice remains. And beneath that ice, the evidence still waits, frozen, preserved, ready to rewrite everything we think we know. The only question is whether we're ready to face what's buried down there, or whether we'll continue to dismiss it as myth, fantasy, and conspiracy. Because acknowledging the truth means accepting that we live on a planet capable of erasing everything in the blink of an eye. And that 400 years ago, it did exactly that. This is what they don't teach you, but now you know.